Welcome to Moving Mom and Downsizing Dad, the podcast that prepares you for one of life's toughest yet inevitable moments, stepping in when your parents need you most. Hosted by Spade, a senior real estate specialist with Keller Williams Realty. We'll dive deep into more than just moving. We're talking smart financial planning, making tough decisions with confidence, and strategies to avoid being caught in crisis mode. Join us for real stories, expert insights, and actionable steps to stay ahead of the curve. Now, here's your host, Spade.
Welcome to Moving Mom and Downsizing Dad, the podcast that helps Gen Xers and their parents through life's next big move with less stress and more confidence. I'm Spade, senior real estate downsizing specialist with Keller Williams Realty, San Diego Metro. After nearly 2 decades of selling homes and serving seniors, I'm here to hand you the playbook one conversation at a time. Today's solo episode is your listing day playbook, the exact 30-day sprint I use to get mom's house photo ready without late night panic. Hope you all enjoyed the 4th of July. We took a 1-week break. We're back to it. So let's dive in. All right, imagine this. You have got 30 days until that for sale sign hits the lawn, ready or not. We are going to talk about pre-listing prep and where real equity is won. But one thing I want to jump into really quickly is today's market rewards turnkey homes, and buyers will pay for move in easy. What do I mean by that? The house doesn't necessarily need to be completely upgraded, but as long as the house is clean, it's in decent shape, and the infrastructure of the property is in good condition, buyers will pay for that. Young buyers do not mind having to go in and remodel a house because there's a lot of creativity running through their bones, and they want to make sure that they get the opportunity to change the house the way they want to. But what they will pay for is they will pay for turnkey ready. So think hot water heaters. Are they newer? Are they braced? Are they strapped? If your HVAC unit is not brand new, then has it been serviced lately? And I highly suggest that you get that serviced within the last 30 days. If you have a wall gravity heater unit, make sure that is fluffed up and that it looks good, or you have replaced it, because one of the ways that a loan will fall through is if the heat does not work. Now, you do not have to have air conditioning in Southern California like you do in Arizona or other states. You do have to have heat in order to get a loan, especially FHA and VA. Also, what does the roof look like? Does it need to be repaired? And we've talked about this time and time again, and that is getting pre-inspections done on the property. You want to have a physical home inspection done on the property. Have your home inspector come in and pay that money. It's going to be about $600 to come in, have them pay to look at the property and point out everything that could be wrong with it. I also highly suggest, if you own a single-family detached house in San Diego, in particular, really anywhere in San Diego County, if you know that the sewer pipes have not been replaced or they have not been redone or relined, then I highly suggest that you get a sewer scope inspection before you put the house on the market. That is one of the biggest deal breakers that you will experience. Some plumbers will allow you, not all of them, some of them, will allow you to pay them at the close of escrow for the work. But that is a very, very expensive repair, and it will need to be negotiated if it pops up later. Also, I highly suggest that you get a pre-roof inspection to make sure that the roof is in good condition. I also highly recommend that you get a termite inspection and agree to do the termite work. This is going to help pull a lot of the negotiation out when the buyer goes and does their home inspection. This is so important because deals are killed during the home inspection process because sometimes agents get ego and they're really working to protect their client, which they should be doing, but that ego slips in. And while the buyer and the seller may want some sort of resolution to to close this deal, it's often the agents that end up blowing the deal. But if you know everything that's going on with that house ahead of time, you are in a much better position. Here's another thing I want to bring up to your attention. Take, for example, in University Heights, stage condos on average sell 4 days less than condos that are not staged. Unstaged condos sit on the market longer and they typically don't sell for as much because when a buyer goes in, it's like when you're walking into a department store and you see an outfit on a mannequin, you can then imagine yourself in that outfit. Same thing when you're going to go buy a condo, you're going to go buy a house. You want to know, will my furniture fit in here? Will this work? And so one of the things that we do is we get a floor plan of the property. And so we have the measurements, and then that way you know, and you can go back and measure your furniture to make sure it fits, or if you have to buy new furniture. But these are some simple things that you can do ahead of time, while we're moving on to the decluttering process, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But just a few things to keep in mind that will make this process go that much smoother. Now, I want you to picture something. Picture me opening a guest room closet, triggering a National Geographic avalanche. Okay, this is a true story. I went over to one of my clients' houses one time, and I did not know this when I originally went over there. We had kind of gone through the process. It was a little bit more of a difficult process for this person to get the house ready, but we got it to the point where we felt comfortable that we could get it ready to go on sale. And literally, I ended up opening a closet I had never opened before. I'll never make that mistake again. I will always open every single closet door when I come to visit your home. And that is because a literal avalanche of National Geographic magazines had fallen out. And so we want to make sure that those types of things aren't there. And these magazines were from probably the 70s. I mean, it was stacked from floor to not ceiling, but where you would start hanging your clothes. That's how many National Geographic magazines were in there. So what we want to do is make sure that we go through things and that we are pulling certain things out. Like one time my client burst into tears because she ended up opening a closet and seeing her husband's bowling trophies. And, we ended up having to take a memory lane break, and, calming everybody down. And this is while the photographer's on the way to the house. So the checklist we're going to go over is going to prevent a lot of these things. And you can download the checklist in the show notes, or you can text the word ready to 619-818-2992, and I will send you this 30-day checklist to get your house ready. And it's even a good idea to go through this checklist even if you're not getting ready to put your house on the market in the next 30 days. Remember, we've talked about in previous podcasts, sometimes it's a 90-day process, and that's okay. You can extend the timeline on this, but this just gives you a really good idea of what needs to happen. All right. So now what I want you to do, step 1, is what I like to call the 1-day audit. You're going to grab your phone, hit record, and give yourself the ugly tour. And you're not going to skip anything, or you're not going to sugarcoat it. Okay. You're going to be your worst critic. Your own worst critic is what I wanted to say. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to start at the beginning of the house. Walk the entry, the kitchen, the primary suite. Those are going to be the ones that are going to win or lose the buyer's heart right away. So here's an example. If you have a cloudy skylight in the foyer that That needs to be priority number one, and it needs to dominate your audit video. Because if somebody looks up and they see the skylight up above that's dirty, or God forbid it's leaking, you need to get that repaired right away. These are going to be things that are going to be deal killers. Number two, you want to snap photos of every fix-it item. Your camera, remember, it is going to double as a punch list. So one time, I had a seller text a handyman a single Dropbox link, and he worked from that punch list and was able to quote because he had actual pictures. So we just closed a condo in Hillcrest, and I had to take pictures of the windows because there was mold on pretty much every single window because the person that lived there before never opened the windows. So your camera will act as a punch list, and when we're giving it to the handyman, it's going to be very, very useful, and they're going to be able to quote you exactly what it's going to cost to fit. Number three is what I like to call our one item out rule. We're going to remove one bulky piece of furniture from each room to create space instantly. You want the space to feel bigger. So for giving you an example, the recliner chair is going to go out. It's going to make the living room feel a lot bigger when we go to take pictures. And when people come in, they're not going to feel so crowded. That furniture, those sectional couches that kind of wrap around, that are all very bulky with the cup holders in them, those are very, very bulky. We're going to have to remove pieces of those and repurpose the furniture in the living room if that, for example, is something that you have. So that is my one item out of each room. Something has to be removed from each room to create extra space in the room. All right, let's talk about budget smart fixes, not smarty fixes, but smart fixes, budget smart fixes. You're going to write small checks now so that buyers are not going to ask you to write big checks later. Okay, so here's a few things that you can do that are smart fixes. This is going to cost you from anywhere from nothing to $500. LED bulbs, fresh caulk, cabinet pulls, magic erasers on the walls. Every wall, including my house, has something that needs to be scrubbed off of it. I will tell you one thing: when we are ready to move out of our place, we are going to change out the blinds because I hate cleaning blinds, and I wouldn't put a cleaning person through cleaning our blinds. Even though they're not horrible, they're still a pain in the butt to clean. We're just going to replace them. $500 to $1,000. Deep cleaning, handyman, anything for squeaks and leaks. So this is what we want to make sure the house is completely deep cleaned. They will do the windows, they will do the floors, they will scrub the tubs, they will get everything out. The handyman will re-caulk the tub. You want to make sure there's no visible mold like there was in that condo that I just sold. So this is another thing. You just want to make sure that you're writing small checks now, because the more you do that, the more you buff up the place, the better it's going to look on the back end. I promise you, you're going to want to invest a little bit of money. All right, let's talk about decluttering and donating without drama. So clutter is a silent deal killer. Okay, if you can send it packing, let's send it packing. So we're going to do the 3-bin method. We've talked about this before. And if you need help, we've got the resources. And I keep kind of putting this on repeat and bringing it to your attention because I don't want you to forget about it. It's the keep, gift, release, or keep, donate, and just get rid of method. So grandma's china, okay? Some of you don't want to keep grandma's china. You can gift it to someone else, maybe for your granddaughter's first apartment, that you can give it to them because, when we all moved into our first home, we all needed dishes, right? So that's one example of that you could do with it. You could donate it. You could sell it on consignment. There's many things that you can do. You can reframe donating heirlooms and giving them a second life. Dad loved his workshop tools. There's someone else who will love the workshop tools. What about donating them to a high school woodshop program and not the landfill? Those are some things that you can do to give your fathers, like my dad, I know has a ton of tools. I know he's got my grandfather's old stuff. These are things I'm not going to use. And I don't know if my brother's going to. So it would be a good idea to donate them somewhere where they will be used. The other thing you want to do is leverage charities with free pickups like AmVets here in San Diego. As long as you put it out on your front porch and you write AmVets on it, they will take it. They're very discerning about furniture. The American Red Cross is the same way, the Salvation Army. Those all go to good programs. Father's Joe Villages, they do curbside pickup within 48 hours. So you can get all this stuff out of here fairly quickly. The Marine Corps picks up stuff as well. I learned that especially if you were in North County, San Diego, the Marine Corps will come pick up some stuff. So leverage those charities because it's very, very important. All right, let's talk staging. Now, staging is not cheap. I'm not going to put it. Staging is not cheap, even if you're using your own stuff and you're using some of the stager stuff. Staging isn't cheap, but stage the story, not the stuff. Buyers are purchasing the lifestyle, okay? So you can do a full professional staging versus editing what you have. Now you can spend $0 by just swapping bulky sectionals for a slim sofa, borrowed from someone else, for example. You can do a full staging. Full staging is going to be the most expensive, and it just really depends on the square footage of the property. But I will say the price of staging has gone up significantly over the last few years. But you want a good stager. You don't want someone who's just going to throw crap furniture into your home because it just doesn't look good. And when people get there, they don't feel like they want to be there because they can tell there's cheap furniture there. You know what it's like walking into a store with cheap furniture? That's what it's like for a buyer when they walk into your home and they see a bunch of cheap furniture. They're thinking twice about even wanting to buy it. So you want to be with a stager who's going to create an emotion. And like I said, it's not cheap. Staging can run you upwards of, depending on the size of your home, $5,000. It's not cheap, and that's typically for about 60 days. And if the house hasn't sold at that point, then you pay a month-to-month fee. So this is why, by doing this ahead of time, especially in today's market, since homes are sitting a little bit longer, this is probably one of the best ways to go. All right, step number 5, let's talk about Showtime logistics. This is lights on, pets out. Showtime has begun. All right. So one thing you want to do is if you have pets, you want to make sure your home does not smell like your pet. I know I have 2 dogs. I'm very sensitive to that pet smell. I'm constantly using that Arm & Hammer pet deodorizer on my area rugs in my house. I've got a few area rugs and I'm constantly vacuuming them, and I've got dogs that shed. So I'm constantly vacuuming the house. But you want to book the photos and any tours or videos at least a week early. You just want to have a buffer, and you want to have that is because if there is rain on the way, you're going to not want to take pictures if it's going to be raining outside. Some homes, they also photograph really well. If you get some night shots, it creates this really cool romantic mood. We don't do that for every single property, but there's a lot of properties that just have that beautiful, beautiful feel. The other thing you want to do is you want to have a safety checklist for meds, mail, and any valuables. So if you are still living in the house, I always tell people, make sure you have a place where your medication is stored, and it is out of the way. Typically, I have my clients tell me where it is, so that way if I'm hosting an open house and the house is larger and I can't be around everybody all at once, then I have an idea of where it is. So if somebody's lingering and looking too long, then I can go check on them and see if they're going through your stuff. I highly recommend that you take all that stuff with you, or if you have a lot of jewelry, that you get a safety deposit box. You want to do those things just to make sure, because unfortunately there are some unsurly people out there that will go through your things. So just definitely watch that. One of my clients was going through cancer and had a lot of heavy medications. And she told me exactly where they were in the house. So I knew, but I was also pretty much walking people through the house so I could keep an eye on people because it was a very large condo. Number 3 is the pet plan. Make sure you have scent control. Baking soda, remember, I talked about this. The Arm & Hammer baking soda pet, you want to pre-vacuum essential oil cotton balls. Those work really well, and you can just drop essential oils on a cotton ball and kind of stick them in really random places that can't be seen around the house, so that way those scents get out. I like to light candles depending on the time of year. Will depend on the type of candle I light, but these are all things that kind of create a mood. We don't want you to keep any plugins around because those are bad for dogs anyway. So we would just burn out the candles, or, the cotton balls would be up on a bookshelf where your dogs couldn't get to anyway. Or cats. That's the other thing. If you do have cats, it's always a good idea to take the cats with you as well, but we want to make sure that the house smells really, really good. That means no clothes on the floor at any time. Towels are always hung up in the bathroom. Underwear is not laying anywhere. Trust me, I've gone into houses and there's been underwear on the floor. So nothing, everything has to be put away. Everything has to look perfect. That means your laundry hamper has to look perfect, and you probably are going to be doing laundry a heck of a lot more than what you're used to doing right now. Let's talk about some of the reasons why listings go sideways, because this is important. First and foremost is you decide not to declutter like we've been advising you. So you have over personalized decor that lingers in photos, sports teams, diplomas, politics. That is a big one right now. Get any sort of political flags, signs, you name it, out of the house. It does not serve you. A Lakers shrine, a Padre shrine, not going to work, because if someone's moving down from LA and they're a Dodgers fan, I mean, that's kind of a very loose example, but you get it. Just get all of that stuff out. You don't want to have too many personal items. The other thing is, I can rely on the people that I have vetted to help me do work in the house, handyman, contractors. But if you hire somebody and they're a no-show, we need to have that time in order to get the home ready. And so when a painter ghosted one of my clients one time, we still had a few days to get some drywall repairs done and repainted just in time before the photographer came. Because keep in mind, rescheduling these people is also a rescheduling fee. And so these things cost a little extra money. So we want to make sure that we get everything ready. We follow the timeline, and we want to make sure that the people that we are working with to help us get the home ready for sale are professional. And finally, emotional pushback. You need to plan a goodbye moment. Okay. So one of my families, they hosted a sunset toast on the deck after they packed their mom and dad, and the very last thing that they packed as they were leaving the home was the tiki lights. And the son was going to take the tiki lights to his backyard so that way he could create memories for his family and that his mom and dad would be able to visit. But plan that goodbye moment, because many times your parents have lived in this house for many, many, many years. And so you want to plan that moment where they can say goodbye to what the home that they have raised their children in. I will say this, like my brother, my nephews know no other home than the home that they've grown up in. One of my nephews just turned 16. The other one's 13. They don't know any other home than the one that they've grown up in, because that's the only home they've been in their whole lives. And I know for a fact, my brother and my sister-in-law, they're not going anywhere. They're going to stay in that home forever. And so that is their only home. So it's an emotional process. So just go ahead and plan that goodbye moment. All right. So you've downloaded the checklist. You have it in hand. Your confidence is high. Let's hit that button as we are ready to go put your home on the market. So we are going to review what we are going to do. So Number one, we are going to do our 1-day audit. That's where we're going to go through and we're going to be brutally honest about the house. Number two, we're going to budget smart fixes and we're going to partly use that home inspection report we talked about as our punch list along with the pictures. Step number three, we're going to declutter and donate without drama. You want to make sure that you are able to do that. Trust me, we are going through this process ourselves because we are looking for a new house and we are starting this process very, very, very early. Number four, you want to decide if you are going to be staging. And if you're not, what pieces you're going to take out, how you're going to make the home look bigger. I can help you with that. We've got professional stagers on our team, and that is going to be perfect. Number five, showtime logistics. Get everyone ready. If the house is vacant, that's great because it makes things very, very easy to show. If it's not, then we just have to go through the process and make sure the house smells great. So if you've got pets, we just need to be extremely mindful of that. Okay. So those are the 5 steps. Don't forget, rather, the common pitfalls and how to dodge them. You know, sometimes you have contractor no-shows, over-personalize and declutter, and no politics and no emotional pushback. Set that time to say and have your goodbye moment. All right. That is a wrap on our listing day playbook. Remember, a clear roadmap beats chaos every single time. If you'd like a free 30-day market ready planner PDF I mentioned, just text the word ready to 619-818-2992 or click the link in today's show notes. I'm Chris Spade with Keller Williams Realty, San Diego Metro. Thanks for listening to Moving Mom and Downsizing Dad. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a quick review so we can help more families navigate this journey with confidence.